Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joesephyr, and in today's video we're going to be ranking Sids in the various Final Fantasy games. So we have the Sids from Final Fantasy 1 all the way up to 16, as well as a couple of other notable entries. It's not every Sid that's ever been in a Final Fantasy, but we've got all of the big ones here. So if you'd like to join me in seeing how we can rank these Sids together, then stay tuned and keep on watching. We're going to start from the very beginning, and we're going to start with Sid of the Lufane, which is Final Fantasy 1 Sid. So Final Fantasy 1 Sid isn't really present in Final Fantasy 1 at all. In fact, he has more backstory in Dissidia than he does in Final Fantasy 1. He also is the origin point for a lot of what happens in FF1 that's bad, such as chaos and all of the stuff that goes on with the time loop, etc. So we're just going to pop him in D tier because he's not there. We don't even have a picture of him. We don't know what he looks like. And for that reason, he's going straight in D tier. Okay, so Sid in Final Fantasy 2 he's also not a particularly story heavy character, but he does do some stuff. Like, he is the airship engineer. He's like the first engineer Sid, which is a common trait amongst all of them. And he does kind of sacrifice himself for the party late game and tells you where to go for the cyclone and where the airships are, etc. So I think he's a solid C tier pick. I wouldn't put him any higher than that because we don't know a lot about him, but yeah, C tier seems good to me. So now we go into Sid Haze for Final Fantasy 3. Much like Sid in FF2, doesn't do a huge amount. He does he show up to save you in the Crystal Tower? Yeah, but everyone kind of does. So he's kind of more of a character than the other two so far. But so I'd put him above Sid from Final Fantasy 2, but he doesn't really do a lot. He's there in the early game. You get one of the airships from him. Again, airship engineer. He's a very Sid. But that's kind of all I have to say about him. With Sid Polendina. Now, I've also just discovered that you can actually rearrange these icons in Tiermaker, and I will leave a link in the description box below for this Tiermaker so that you can give us your impression of your favorite Sid, why they're your favorite Sid, etc. So please do feel free to use this yourself. I'm going to put Sid Polendina in a solid B tier. For some strange reason, all of the Final Fantasies feature their Sids prominently. They get used in spin-offs and stuff. But for FF4, Sid Polendina doesn't. And I don't really know why, because he is as much a party member as anyone else is in that game. He does have impact on the story, such as building the airships, but also kind of doing some heroic deeds in order to land himself in sacrificial territory. But he does what a lot of FF4 characters do and fake out deaths, etc. He's a bit all over the place, so I like him, but he's not my favorite. So yeah, I think I'd land him squarely in the B tier. Sid Previa from Final Fantasy 5. I'd say he's pretty mid-tier. I would put it ironically, because as is quite rightly said in my chat down below here, his banter with his granddaughter Mid is what makes him. And I think that past the airship engineering stuff, past saving him from the burning castle, doesn't actually do a lot, but some of his dialogue is quite funny. And when you take him to the Royal Library, there's some banter there to be had. So I would put him above Sid Haze and FF2 Sid, but I wouldn't put him higher than Polendina, I don't think. So we have Sid here from FF6. So I can't remember his last name, but the Gestalian Empire Sid. I'm going to put him in high B tier because he doesn't actually appear on screen an awful lot, but when he does have an impact. So he's there primarily to further Celes' character, and I can only really think of two situations where you ever actually see him, which is at the end of the Magitech factory and on the solitary island with Celes, where she could either save him or allow him to pass away with Fish. But he does have a massive impact on Celes' character arc, and that character arc is very impactful. So I think I like him more than Sid Polendina and Previa, but I still don't think he quite hits A tier. So we can all agree that Cid Highwind of Final Fantasy VII is a pretty great Cid. He's a pretty great Cid. He puts a new spin on Dragoon archetypes, he's not fully decked out in armor like Kain or Ricard before him, or the Jobs versions of Dragoons. His dialogue is entertaining, he's funny, but he also is taken very seriously at times. He's a very unique character up until that point in Final Fantasy. So I'm going to make him my first S tier Sid, because I think he deserves to be there. He's very loved by a lot of people, and with good reason. He's strong in the party. Highwind is a really powerful attack because it has multiple hits, and you have multiple hits, you're doing a good job. I just think that he deserves to be in S tier. And yeah, like, you know, if you don't agree with me, just go and get me some goddamn tea. Headmaster Sid, Sid Kramer, Final Fantasy VIII. He's not an awful character, but he's so ambivalent towards everything. He doesn't do an awful lot apart from get other people to do things for him, whether it be Norg or Idea or Squall. He's constantly passing off his responsibilities to others, or at least that's what the game has you believe. He does actually take a lot on himself, but he just doesn't have that same likability as the characters that I can see on this list that I plan to put above him. So I reckon I'm actually going to put him in B tier, because I certainly don't hate him. But I'd put him below 6 Sid, because I think the impact that 6 Sid has on sellers and some of the characters around him is greater in a lot of ways, in a more positive light. Sid Fabul, FF9, I'm sorry, he goes straight to the S tier. I love this character. I think he's such a brilliant personality. He is funny. He is heartfelt. The scene in the ending with him, his wife, and Aiko, that's the one that always gets me going at the ending for some reason. I just love it when she calls him dad by accident, and it's the sweetest thing ever. But he's so entertaining, whether he is an oglop, whether he's a frog, or whether he is his regal mustached self. I love him. The redemption arc is brilliant. You know, he has multiple airships. He's like the Duke of Lindblom. He's just a regent, sorry, not Duke. And he had like the redemption arc he has, like where he repents for like doing the dirty on his wife. It's just so, he has levels, and the only other character I can think of that has levels to the same level he does so far is Sid Highwind, so he's absolutely S tier for me. FF10 Sid, Daddy Sid, Uncle Sid, leader of the Owl Bed. I really ummed and ahed about this, so I had to ask for some help, because I don't personally like him very much. I think he has very little personality, and if you play Final Fantasy X too, it's even worse, but then so are most characters in that game. But I'm gonna put him in A tier because of the reminder that I've had from my lovely chat about the fact that he does make the decision to set fire to his home because of the invasion. He does have pivotal points in the story, and the moment where they all sing like the Hymn of the Faith is very poignant. There are moments where Sid shines, but I definitely don't think he's S tier. I wanted to put him in B tier, but I don't like him less than the characters I've put in B tier. But I think he's going to be an interesting one. He's going to be a little contentious. So let me know what you guys think of him. So Final Fantasy 11 Sid. We all know I haven't played 11, though that is changing very, very shortly. The amount of people I speak to that haven't played 11 makes me want to play 11 so that I can at least like tell people more about it. Certainly FF fans. But from what I gather, and having talked to a lot of other people who have played FF11, he's kind of a meh character. So I'm going to put him in the C tier, at the bottom of the C tier, because from what I can see, he's just an NPC and doesn't really provide much beyond being that engineer NPC in a sea of MMO like NPCs. So if he doesn't stand out, when you're comparing to a lot of the other characters here, then that's where I would put him. But I'd love to hear from other FF11 fans who would put him higher or even lower. Final Fantasy 12 Sid, Sidolphus Bonanza. Now, one thing you'll notice as we go through this, if your name is Sidolphus, you're doing well. As for Dr. Sid, I am torn between putting him in high A tier or low S tier, which realistically, it's not much in it. So I'm going to put him in high A tier purely because he doesn't have as much screen time as I want him to have. Whenever he is on the screen, he is chewing that scenery so hard, and he's technically the main villain of Final Fantasy 12. He understood about Vanar before Vayne did. He understands sort of Nethicite and like whether it's manufactured or whether it's natural. He sets a lot of the wheels in motion. Oh, and let's not forget, like, you know, he has his relationship with Balthea, who's his son, and That's a whole can of worms in and of itself. I just think that Dr. Sid presents villainy for a Sid character in a really unique and interesting way. He's mustache twirling, he's campy in his own way. I actually just love him, so I'm going to put him in high A tier and not S tier, because I think people will come for me if I put him in S tier. But that's where I would put him. Sid Reigns of Final Fantasy 13 is probably one of the characters in this list that aggravates me more than most characters, period, let alone Sid's. And we've been talking, and I would put him B tier at best. In fact, I would even be tempted to put him into C tier, because his wasted potential is so aggravating to me. But he does have quite a good boss fight, so I'll let him have that. He doesn't do anything. He's just such a pointless character. Like he all of his story is told when he's not there, and then when you do see him, he's a puppet. He's by a puppet, I mean the literal sense of the term. His resurrected corpse is just there slumped in a chair, and that's it. And then he turns up in Lightning Returns as some profound entity that makes no sense. Do you know what? He annoys me that much. I'd put him in C tier. He annoys me that much. Yes, he has a good boss fight, but I find the other Sids from 4 and 5 more entertaining than him. And people can come for me on this one because his design is upsettingly quite cool as well. But he's such a nothing character. Final Fantasy 14. I'm gonna put Sid in A tier between FF10 and 12 because I think Sid is a really good character. I think that he is largely forgotten by FF14 for some bizarre reason, but he is the driving force of a lot of what happens in A Realm Reborn. Past A Realm Reborn, he doesn't actually do very much apart from the occasional side story alongside Nero. And I really enjoy his give and take with Nero. I think they make a really good duo. Certainly in like the Omega Scape stories or in Shadowbringers with the relic quests and stuff like that, he can be really entertaining. However, it annoys me to no end how forgotten he is in the main story. Endwalker, you go to Garlemald. Why is he not present for that at all? He was pretty important in Heavensward. Maybe, but I don't remember a lot of what he did in Heavensward, to be honest. Maybe that's on me, but I don't. And I think that I wouldn't put him above 12, 9, and 7. I think that he's a great character that is wasted, but not nearly as badly as Sid Reigns was, because he has definitely had his time in the sun multiple times, and I really hope he gets it again, because he is a great character. I'd like them to see more from him. It pains me to do this. It pains me to do this, but I'm actually going to put FF15 Sid in D tier alongside Sid of the Lufane. When the character that you're supposed to have the relationship with, Cindy, her primary function is there to be the TNA of the story, and you stick out more than he does, that's not a good look for you. That's not good. Sid in 15 doesn't do anything. We are told that he's important to the story because he's one of Regis's Kingsglaive. We're told that he had this massively important role. Where is it? Where is it? We got shown a photo of him. That is it. That's all we know of him. Past that, he is a shopkeeper that upgrades your weapons, and that is all. And for that reason, I think he is the least developed character, even beyond Sid of the Lufane. At least Sid of the Lufane has story and outside of that with Dissidia and Stranger Paradise. The DLC didn't even take you to anything with Sid, or is it Orium? I can't even remember his last name. So, Sidolphus Telamon from Final Fantasy 16. D tier Sid, right? No. D for dominant, D for ding dong, S tier. If there was a second tier above S tier, he'd be in it. He's that good. I think he is the best Sid. And that's saying a lot, because there's some good ones. But his presence is undeniable. His look is brilliant. The voice acting, Ralph Ineson destroys that role. He's just a fantastic character, and I can't sing his praises enough. in one of my previous tier list videos, I actually did like a lightning makeup look based on Sid and his semi-prime state, and I'm actually thinking about cosplaying Sid because I think I'd pull it off quite well. But besides that, the points in the story where Sid is prominent are some of the best story beats in FF16, and FF16 story is pretty great. So I think that Sid deserves nothing less to be at the top of the pack. So now we've just got 4 left. We've got spin-off titles that a lot of people treat as higher than spin-off titles. But we're going to go with Type 0. So Sid Olstein. Sid Olstein is just the Führer, if you will, of Final Fantasy. Like, he is mustache twirling. He is villain through and through. The only main antagonist of a Final Fantasy game that's named Sid. And I think that he actually does do a very good job of doing what he does. Like, you don't get the satisfaction of killing him yourself because he does it himself. You like, he's very, very just tyrannical. And I think that because he plays such a prominent role in his game, I would put him at A tier or low A tier. It doesn't help that I don't particularly like Type 0. But I do think he does his job very well. So I've got the 3 tactics games here. They're only in the D tier because it snapped to that and I can't get them back out now. So we'll start with Sidolphus Orlando, S tier. Straight up. His story in tactics isn't quite as developed as those around him. So he's no Ramza, no Deleta, no Agrius, no Ovelia, etc. But this man is the pinnacle of power in a Final Fantasy game. If you've ever seen a spin-off or a mobile game or anything, and you see his name, you want him. Like, he's just so powerful in every iteration he has, including FF14, because they had to nerf the boss fight for him in Auburn Monastery. He was that strong. So I think that for that reason alone, the weight of his name, Thunder God Sid, deserves to have him in S tier. Tactics Advance and Tactics Advance 2. TA2, Sid of Clan Gully, I'm going to put squarely in the middle of B tier. I like Sid of Clan Gully. I think he's very likable. I think he's got a really cool design. And he's got a lot of swag. But that's kind of all he has. He's not massively central to the plot of TA2. But he's very cool. So I'd put him between Sid Polendina and Sid Kramer. Because I think he's likable. But he doesn't do a lot outside of that. Sid Randall, however, I'm going to put all the way up in A tier. And I'm only putting him not in S tier because I think people will come for me. I adore this character because of how human he is. And that's part of why I love TA in general, because there's such a humanity to each of the characters. At the start of the game, Sid Randall is an alcoholic. He doesn't look after his son properly. But as the game progresses and you find Judge Master Sid and this vision that Mute, his son, has created in Ivalice to make him like the perfect dad, and then he starts to actually learn to become a really good dad through it, I don't know, that hits me hard on so many levels, and I really love the character. I really love the design of Judge Master Sid as well. Like, we saw TA before we ever saw Judges in 12. I just love this character. So this is the list that I've got here with all the various different Sids. There are a couple I haven't included here. Like, I didn't include, basically because I was rushing to get all the icons out, but I didn't include stuff like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius Sid, Veritas of the Wind, who I do actually quite like, and I would have put squarely in B tier, or like maybe even low A tier. Or World of Final Fantasy Sid, which is a robot that doesn't do anything and would have landed squarely in D tier. But let me know if there are any Sids that I haven't put in that perhaps I could revisit later down the line. But I did actually ask some of my patrons over on Patreon, and a massive thank you goes out to all of you guys that support the channel as much as you do, what their favourite Sids were. So I've got a couple of comments here. So Pale Raider says, FF7 Cid, he was the first Cid that proper stuck the theme of memorable Cids in your mind. He swears but has a heart of gold. His limit breaks are stellar. FF7 Cid may not be as developed as, say, FF16 Cid, but he was the trendsetter for Cids with actual personalities and backstory, which deserves recognition. And as much as the new Cid is a hot stud, you gotta respect what came before. I'd agree with that. I think that FF16 Cid, I mean, I literally asked my patrons, who their favorite Sid was, and 90% of them came back with comments such as 16, it's not even close, he should be S tier and everyone else should start in B. I almost feel it's unfair to include Sidolphus in the list, as he's at least a tier ahead of everybody else. But there's some really nice comments out here as well. Like, I feel like Sid got more love in some of the side games, got a soft spot for TA2 Sid, Chocobo Mystery Dungeon Sid, and of course the one and only Orlando. So there's a lot of different comments and stuff that come around from basically everyone, and whoever Sid is their favorite is going to be different. So if you're interested in having your comments put in some of these tier list videos, a big shout out goes out to all my patrons once again, and if you want to be featured in the videos, then you're welcome to come and join that, as well as getting all sorts of other benefits. So I'll leave a link in the description box for that for you too. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for future notifications on any other videos that I might be making, whether they be tier lists, FF16 stuff, reviews, all sorts of other videos. Definitely come back and have a look at some of the other videos that I've got in store for you. If you have any ideas or any other tier list style videos you'd like me to make, then I'll be happy to make them, and I really enjoy doing them. I didn't do a makeup look on this video because I decided that I needed my face to have a rest after doing the last few. But on that note, thank you ever so much, and I will see you next time. Take care.